إن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم.
Our dear viewers, welcome to today's program, Truth Unveiled, with me, Mwanika Said, your host. Our topic of discussion today is the Christian concept of salvation. By nature, man was created and designed with an ingredient to quest for salvation. There are only a few things here and there that steer him off from the right track and ultimately lead him to total depravity. All religions have got their teachings with regard to salvation, which they claim that once perfectly followed, they can lead man to true salvation. However, we cannot exhaust all of them. Rather, for the start, we are going to be looking at Christianity and see what has it got to unveil to its followers when it comes to salvation. With me in the studios are two guests. On my immediate right-hand side is Mr. Faisal Chiemba, the officer in charge of the annual convention, Jalsa Salana, Ahmadiyya Muslim Association, Uganda.
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Next to him is Mr. Israel Talga, a regional missionary in charge of Kampala, Ahmadiyya Muslim Association, Uganda.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to Truth Unveiled, gentlemen. To begin with, Sheikh Faisal. When we look at the Christian world, Jesus is taken as a savior or a redeemer of humanity because he gave his life when he decided to die on the cross to save mankind from the punishment of sin. That is the Christian concept of salvation. Besides that, do we have any other type of salvation?
Thank you very much. Before we find out whether there is another concept of salvation besides the Christian concept of salvation, I think it is appropriate for me to explain what salvation means.
Perfect.
It has been said that salvation is the act of saving or being saved from harm, from loss, or from destruction. Now, when we come to Christian theology, salvation means deliverance from the punishment of sin. It is interesting to note here that the holy founder of the worldwide Ahmadiyya Muslim community, in many of his books, has actually questioned this definition of salvation as presented by our Christian brothers and sisters. In one of his books, which is called Cheshmai Masihi, the Fountain of Christianity, the promised Messiah and Imam Mahdi, who is the holy founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, has explained that this is not the true meaning of salvation. Just to be saved from the punishment of sin. The promised Messiah, in his book, as I explained earlier, says that it is a pity that many people are unaware of the meaning of salvation. According to the Christians, salvation means deliverance from the punishment of sin. This is not the true meaning of salvation. Salvation means more than that. Okay. He goes further to illustrate this point by saying that the achievement of that eternal prosperity for which human nature hungers and thirsts is what is called salvation. We all hunger and thirst for joy and happiness, peace of mind, and contentment of heart. So just becoming saved or redeemed or delivered from the punishment of sin, that alone is not salvation. Salvation is more than that. I will read some writings of the promised Messiah, which are found in one of his books called Lecture Lahore, and a part of it is to be found in the Review of Religion, the Review of Religions, a magazine which he actually founded himself. He has actually given us a very fascinating example to understand this point. He says that it is our daily experience that when something proves to be useful, one is immediately attracted towards it. Okay. And when something is proved to be harmful, one begins to fear it. For instance, he gives us an example that if a person does not know that what he has in his hand is poisonous, he might swallow a large amount of it, considering it to be some useful medicine. But he who knows that it is fatal, it is dangerous, it is harmful, he will not swallow even the smallest quantity of it. For he knows, and he would realize that by eating of it, he would pass out from this world. He goes ahead, the holy founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. It is a true and tried philosophy that to escape sin, man needs perfect understanding and not any type of atonement. So, Jesus Christ, may peace of Allah be upon him, is one of the prophets and messengers of Allah who was sent to guide mankind. Every prophet, every messenger that came before Jesus Christ or after him came to guide mankind and lead mankind towards salvation. So they are all saviors. They are all redeemers.
We cannot only say it is only Jesus.
Not at all. So I will conclude my answer to your question by again quoting from the writings of the promised Messiah and Imam Mahdi, who is the holy founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Actually, he tells us that if Jesus had come to die for the sins of mankind, to deliver mankind or humanity from the punishment of sin, there must be some kind of connection between the sins of mankind and the solution which he came with to do away with the sins of mankind. But at a closer range, if you look at what Christianity offers as a means towards salvation, there is no connection at all. There is no relationship at all. The promised Messiah has explained this point very clearly in one of his writings. He says that we have never observed that X should strike his head with a stone, and that this should cure the headache of Y. We do not know by what law the suicide of Jesus can remove the inner disease of others, nor are we aware of any philosophy on the basis of which the blood of Jesus can wash out the inner impurity of anyone else. He concludes by saying that from the time that man was created up to today, there has been only one way of escaping sin, leading to salvation.
Which is that way?
That way is the Islamic concept of salvation.
Thank you very much. Turning to Sheikh Israel, Sheikh Faisal has clearly explained that what is presented as salvation in the Christian world is beyond. Our viewers would like to know, what is the true concept of salvation?
Thank you very much. Before embarking on the answer to your question, may I make it very clear that all the prophets of God got their guidance from one source, and that is God the Almighty. So there is no way that the teachings that were brought by all the prophets, starting from Adam, may peace of God be upon him, up to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because the source is one, there is no way their teachings can contradict each other. The true concept of salvation is clearly laid out in both the Old and the New Testament. And to everybody's amazement is the kind of salvation presented in the Gospels and in the Old Testament is in conformity with the teaching of Islam. When we go to the second book of Chronicles, in the 7th chapter, it goes as follows. If my people, who are called by my name, humble themselves, one, pray and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins. Now, when you look very carefully, you'll find that this is a four-pronged approach from the Old Testament. Salvation can be attained through, one, humility and humbleness, two, through prayer, three, seeking of God's face, that is devotion of oneself to God completely, and fourth, turning away from wicked ways.
Is that according to the Bible?
This is according to the Torah. The Old Testament. Similarly, even in the New Testament, according to the Gospel of John, the 14th chapter goes as follows. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. He who has my commandments and keeps them, he it is who loves me. Again he says, he who does not love me does not keep my words. Surprisingly, the holy founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad may peace of Allah
Be upon
him, said, salvation means that a person should commit himself wholly to God, just as it has been mentioned in the Bible, and should offer himself as a sacrifice in the cause of God, and should prove his sincerity not only through his motive, but also through righteous conduct. These are the words of our beloved Imam, the Imam of the age. So, isn't it indeed surprising that
Very.
the teachings of Jesus, may peace of God be upon him, are in conformity with the teaching of the Holy Quran and indeed the teachings of the Imam of the age?
It is very interesting. Our dear viewers, just remind you the program you're watching is Truth Unveiled. The topic of discussion today is the Christian concept of salvation. For questions or comments, thoughts or observations, email us on africa@mta.tv. Now, turning to Sheikh Faisal, in your earlier explanation, you put it on board clearly that the only true concept of salvation is the Islamic teaching upon that matter. Our viewers would like to hear what is the true Islamic teaching upon salvation.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you state that the only true concept of salvation is the Islamic concept of salvation, our viewers may get the impression that maybe Christianity, which came before Islam, Judaism, which came before Christianity, may have different concept of salvation. This is what my brother here has explained very beautifully. There is no any other concept of salvation other than that concept which was introduced right from the beginning when God the Creator started sending his messengers and prophets to the world to guide mankind. The Islamic concept of salvation is the same concept of salvation that Jesus Christ taught. It is the same concept of salvation that all other prophets and messengers of God that came before Jesus Christ taught. Let that one be clear. Now, what is it? What is that concept of salvation? Having understood that salvation does not only mean deliverance from punishment of sin, naturally the question arises that what is the true concept of salvation? The promised Messiah has told us that it is more than that. It is more than being delivered from the punishment of sin. A human being by nature hungers and thirsts for peace of mind, contentment of heart, joy and happiness, prosperity. But how can he achieve it? It is Islam that has presented a very practical and simple way to salvation. Islam's edifice or building rests upon the 5 pillars of Islam. It is also based on the 6 articles of faith, which every Muslim must profess or believe in. These two combined together, the first set is all about what a person should do as a human being in society towards his fellow human beings in society. The other one has to do with what that person believes. These two combined together is what we call faith and works. That is why Christianity has been misled on this matter. If you open and read the New Testament, you will find that James the upright, who was the brother of Jesus Christ, put much emphasis on works. Paul has placed so much emphasis on faith such that he even teaches that works are not necessary. Just believing in the death of Jesus Christ on the cross is enough to lead a person to salvation. But going back to the teaching of Islam, I will read to you two sayings of the Holy Prophet of Islam. May peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. The first one is reported by one of his very close companion, Ma'adh bin Jabal. Ma'adh bin Jabal tells us that they were with the Holy Prophet and they woke up one morning and Ma'adh bin Jabal put a question to the Holy Prophet of Islam. And what was that question? The Holy Prophet said, Ma'adh bin Jabal, لَقَدْ سَأَلْتَنِي عَنْ عَظِيمٍ. You have indeed asked me a very crucial question, matter. وَإِنَّهُ لَيَسِيرٌ عَلَى مَنْ يَسَّرَهُ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ. That question apparently is very crucial, very great, but it is easy on the person that for which God has made it easy. What did the Holy Prophet say? Ta'abudullah. First of all, you have to know and recognize that you are a creature, and behind your creation there is a creator. So it is a must on you to recognize your creator and worship your creator. That is the first pillar. وَلَا تُشْرِكْ بِهِ شَيْئًا. With that pillar, you should not associate any partners with Allah. The second pillar is وَتُقِيمُ الصَّلَاةِ. You have to observe prayer. وَتُؤْتِ الزَّكَاةِ. And you have to give charity. وَتَصُومُ Ramadan. And you have to fast the month of Ramadan. وَتَحُجُّ الْبَيْتِ. If means allow, then you should perform pilgrimage to Mecca. So those are the 5 pillars of Islam. And if you look at all the 5 pillars, especially the 4 pillars, you will see that a person here is fulfilling the obligations he has towards his fellow human beings in a society. The other set of articles is the articles of faith. These are very, very important. And Umar, the companion of the Holy Prophet, has reported the Holy Prophet said, Al-Iman an tu'mina billah. Faith requires that you have to believe in God, wa malaikatihi, and in his angels, wa kutubihi, in his books, wa rusulihi, in his prophets, wal yawmil akhir, and the day of judgment, wal qadr khayrihi wa sharrihi, and to believe in the divine laws relating to good and evil. So these are 2 sets. The first set, which constitutes the 5 pillars of Islam, and the other set, which consists of the 6 articles of faith, combined together is the teaching that Islam has offered to mankind to follow, so that he can be able to establish a relationship with God. And after establishing a relationship with God, man will eventually be granted that understanding which will enable him to know the dangers associated with doing bad and to know the benefits and the beauty associated with doing good.
Thank you very much. Turning to Sheikh Israel, as we come to the end of this program,
Yes.
don't you think the death of the whole personage of Jesus Christ on the cross was necessary? For it is impossible for human beings, because of their sinful nature, to keep the commandments of God in totality. What did you have to say about that?
According to the teachings of the Imam of this age, the holy founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, may peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, he said that this is just an unfounded excuse.
Unfounded excuse.
Unfounded excuse. The Prince Messiah clearly explained in his book, Cheshmai Ma'arufat, as follows. He says, faith is one thing and understanding is another.
Okay.
When you are quite certain of being punished for a sin, you will not act contrary to this certainty. Would you thrust your hand into a fire? Would you jump down from the top of a mountain? Would you jump into a well? Would you lie down in front of a running train? Would you thrust your hand into a mouth of a tiger? Would you present your foot to a mad dog? Can you stay on somewhere where lightning is striking repeatedly? Do you not run out quickly from a room, the roof of which is about to fall down? Is there anyone who would not jump out of bed on perceiving a poisonous snake in it? Is there anyone of you who would not run out of a room in which he is sleeping and a fire has broken out? He concludes by saying, the truth of the matter is that with regard to these things, man has certain knowledge that they are all fatal. But with regard to religious commandments, their knowledge is not certain and is only speculation. This is in his book, Cheshmai Ma'arufat.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your grand presentation. Our dear viewers, today's program has come to the end. Our topic of discussion has been the Christian concept of salvation. Much has been said for the viewers to gain. For questions or comments, thoughts or observations, email us on africa@mta.tv. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.
إن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم